Hello, I am Bentham and welcome to Factorio 0.13. The update is finally here and there's a huge list of new features to look at, so I think we will start with my favourite part, not just of this update but of Factorio in general. Let's look at the trains. I have a bunch of them around here and you'll immediately notice everything's completely different. The trains themselves are different, the cargo wagons are different. Let's turn off the advanced view for a moment. In fact, let's get rid of these here substations so we can get a proper look at these trains. In fact, I've got one over here that's probably a better one to look at, though it is a different colour. Like, there's so many things all at once to talk about. The model of the trains and the cargo wagons has changed. There's now changeable colours. I guess we'll just start by like hopping in this thing and starting to drive around in it, so you can get a good 360 look at the entire model. So it's been massively updated. The previous one was getting a little bit old, and this has added so much. There's just so much more going on with this model to start with. Like, there's all sorts of little bits on it. The previous one was like, the more I look at this, the more I think the old one was just like a big slab of metal. This thing's got a load of cool things about it, loads of bits sticking out. It's all sort of bolted on. I love this bit on the side here that just sort of sticks out. It's just a mess of pipes and stuff. And we got all these wagons on the back. They've got like proper doors now, and if we stop, you will see the doors open. It actually makes sense now. When you start, they close. When you stop, they open, so they can be loaded. And also, because you can't load things on corners, if you stop in a corner, it doesn't open. So that's quite cool. Lots of attention to detail with this. Stuff like now the wheels underneath, they actually rotate as the train goes around the track, and they follow the tracks, which the old train didn't do. It just had the wheels covered so you couldn't see them. So yeah, this is just so much more detailed. It's brilliant. So yes, as you can see, this one's a sort of shade of gold. And if we go over here, we can see I've got the red one. This is the standard colour. And then I've got a green one, a blue one, and sort of a grey one. And you can actually, like, there's a huge range of colours you can choose from. You see, this menu is all new. If we go to here, you can see you just choose the red, green, and blue values. So you can just mess about with it however you like. You can see, as you do it, exactly what happens. So we can just make a white one or a pink one, a sort of a purple one. Can we get it more pink? No, it just goes red that way. Very cool. You get a lighter pink. There's so many. You can now color code your trains, and you can actually identify them on site. That was always something that was a little bit annoying to me, that you couldn't actually tell what train was what unless you walked up to it and found out what its journey was. And if there were multiple trains that were the same one, you couldn't tell the difference. So yeah, this is brilliant. Now we can color code our trains, work out properly what train is doing what, and actually remember which train is which. It's brilliant. So let's, I guess, go into the menus. Well, actually, beforehand, we will talk about the lengths of the trains, because as you can see, these trains are different lengths, and the reason is that these two here were built before the update. They were built in 0.12.35, and so when it updated to 0.13, they didn't actually move. They stayed in the old position, so you can see that the spacing has changed, and things like that, and it's changed to sort of normalize the lengths. Both between the trains and the cargo wagons, because I think they were different. It seemed like it. I'm not 100% sure about that, but what was definitely different was the horizontal and vertical lengths, and they have now been made the same. So I made 2 tracks, well, now 4 tracks, and each one is 25 track pieces long. So you can sort of see that when you compare these two here, this is how much is left, that's how much is left there. It's like more than twice as much from it being vertical. Whereas now it looks the same to me, and it should be. If you look at the actual lengths in squares of each thing, it all matches up properly now. So what I did was I loaded each one. We'll go back to the advanced view, which is Alt, by the way. If you don't know, it's brilliant and extremely useful for just knowing what everything is doing. It tells you what assemblers are producing and what's inside cargo wagons and chests and things like that. And anyway, so what I did was I got inserters unloading from each cargo wagon, and I loaded each cargo wagon with a different item so we could tell exactly how many squares each one fills. So you can see the train, well, there's only 6 of these here, but then there would have been, I think, 2 more at the front, maybe 1. It was sort of hard to tell. It seems like the train's actually shifted forwards, which is a little bit weird. You can see that's the normal place where it would park now, and it somehow ended up in front of that, and that's the same for the vertical one as well. So this was like 7 or 8 tiles. This one was 7. This one was 7, but then this one was 8, and that was where the problem was. It didn't quite line up right, so it would usually be 7, but every now and then one would come along that was 8 long, because it didn't quite line up. And that was really annoying for working out like how long a station needed to be, because you have to factor that sort of thing in. So basically what you had to do is you had to get an actual train and park it there and look at where the inserters went relative to the wagons. So you can see here, it is now shrunk ever so slightly, and you can see that they are still 7 long, but it's sort of, they line up in the middle of tiles now. So you can see that this inserter here didn't unload anything. Back when it was powered, I had the substations in place. That one isn't unloading anything because it's directly in between the 2 cargo wagons, and so it doesn't reach either of them. So now what happens is each one can be unloaded by exactly 6 inserters, and then there's a gap in the middle. It does sort of line up exactly with that. It makes more sense. Like, you might wonder why there's a gap, and it comes in when you look at the vertical station. But it does come in useful because you can have like underground belts going through here. You can have everything being loaded here, and then it goes through an underground, and it makes it easier to sort of transport the iron and the copper and so on around the train without sort of limiting how much it can be unloaded. And it has been limited a bit more by the fact that you can only have 6 inserters. But as we will see later, the rate at which you can unload trains has, I think, been increased dramatically anyway for other reasons. So we'll wander up to this one, and this is where the more dramatic difference is. You can see these trains both have 4 cargo wagons, but this one is nearly a full wagon's length longer, because this one has been standardized to the horizontal length. They're now both the same, and the horizontal one wasn't changed very much, whereas the vertical one was. And so the reason we had this problem in the first place is all about perspective when I'm under attack. And you may have noticed there that the alarm didn't start until there was actually an explosion. That's another change, that now the normal alarms don't actually make a noise, because that could mean you have millions of alarms going off all the time. So it only goes off when something actually explodes. So we just had a radar get blown up there. Interestingly, this wasn't happening before the update came out, so it suggests that either something about the Biter AI has changed, or like they've just been sort of reset and are sort of moving in. They definitely seem to be advancing a lot. That's a little bit worrying. I need to keep an eye on that. They seem to be moving a fair bit quicker than before. And you can see we lost one there earlier, and there was one over here as well. They're really moving. I'm getting a little bit scared. We'll make sure to deal with those as soon as I finish this video. So yes, the horizontal length was pretty much the same, but the vertical length was changed by quite a bit. Yeah, the reason is because of perspective. Because the angle is sort of tilted, you can sort of see, like, this isn't a top-down view. You can see one side of the train, not the other. It means that in order to maintain the scale of things, you had to make the train shorter when it went round a corner. Well, it wasn't that. It was that the train stayed the same length, but that made it change length in squares. So what they've done is they've changed that around. Now, what happens now is the train, each individual component of the train slightly stretches, and also the gaps between the wagons widen. So here it seems quite wide, and it sort of makes sense that the inserter can't get anything out of there. So you can see that now all the inserters are taking out 6, and then there's always one that isn't doing anything in the gap. You see, previously it was a bit of a mess. This one was 6 or 7, I guess. This one was 6. This one was 5. This one was 6. This one was 6. So yeah, that one was 6s with the occasional 5 rather than 7s with the occasional 8. It was very messy. This is a much better way of doing it. Everything's standardized, and now that it's standardized, the developers are free to work on more models for cargo wagons and trains and things like that. That's why all this stuff has happened at once, because it sort of opened the floodgates for what can be done with the trains. So that's very cool. It will help a lot. A couple of your stations may be broken. Your horizontal ones should be okay, unless the trains are, I'd say, more than 3 cargo wagons long. If they are 3, you still need to do a bit of messing about, I think. It seems like the whole thing's been misaligned by a tile, pretty much. So a little bit of tweaking shouldn't be too much of a problem, but with the vertical stations, everything has completely changed. I'm very glad that currently my largest train that parks in a vertical station is not at its station. The mega train, it is currently over there in the middle of nowhere, which is good, because that one's so long that it would have made a difference with it being, it's got, I think, yeah, it's got 10 cargo wagons, so that would have made things start to go a little bit weird. It also has a vertical station it visited, but it hasn't been there recently. Another thing about the cargo wagons is their capacity has been increased. It used to be 30 squares, now it is 40, so that's another reason that some trains are going to be in a little bit of trouble. If there's ones where they rely on being filtered so that only certain items can go in, they're now going to have just 10 stacks of random stuff at the bottom of everything else. I'm not sure about this change. I thought the cargo wagons already had a little bit too much capacity, really. They used to have 20 stacks a while ago, but they've been slowly increasing, and I think it sort of... There's less reason to have longer trains now. Longer trains are cooler. Now there's not much reason to have more than like 2 cargo wagons, because you can fit like an inventory's worth. Though speaking of the inventory, we also have more slots in the inventory. I'm already using them. The standard used to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 60 squares, but now I have 30 more because I have the Power Armor Mark II. The way it works is that the Modular Armor gives you 10 extra slots, the Power Armor Mark I gives you 20, and the Power Armor Mark II gives you 30. So that is very convenient for late game when you end up with just so much random stuff, especially for me because I've ended up gathering a bunch of extra materials with all the new features that have been implemented. So I think that's pretty much everything for the visuals of the trains. Now let's look at the menu in here. So there's a whole lot more going on here. This is the schedule tab. There's a nice little switch now for automatic and manual. See, when it goes to automatic, the doors close because it's now trying to go, but it doesn't actually have any orders to do anything yet. So the buttons are pretty much the same, but there's just more. There's just more of everything. So I guess I'll add a station. There's not actually one connected here. I'll just give it a random one. But now, when you add the station, you get a wait condition. So you decide, like, for what reason the train should actually leave the station. Previously it was always time, so you would just say, okay, stay for 30 seconds, move on, stay at the next one for 30 seconds. Now you can choose particular conditions, such as the train being full or the train being empty, so you can sort of make your systems more efficient. So the train can set off as soon as it's ready, depending on what its job is. Like, you can set it to set up when it has a certain amount of items in it. When a certain circuit condition is met, there's a lot of new circuit network stuff implemented, and also inactivity. I'm not actually sure what that one means. I think it might just mean that there's no loading or unloading going on, or something like that, which makes sense as an option to have. So I can set that, and then I can set the time as normal, and I can change it some way. Oh, you can actually... I don't know how... There's something about and or with the things. I think you can actually make it so that there are multiple different conditions that can be met. So you can make it so that all of them have to be met, or one of them has to be met. So that is very cool. A whole lot more stuff you can do now with how you actually set up your train timetables. That is going to be extremely useful just all the time. The color tab you've already seen, which also you may notice shows the train here. This is a little window, the preview window, that shows you where the train currently is. Because we're literally stood next to it, it just shows us a picture of where we are. Also, you can change it to the map view, so you can see where the train is relative to the rest of the world. And this comes in useful in a minute, when I'll show you some of the other menus that we have. You may notice there's a whole load of stuff up here to go through. So one little thing here, we've got the cargo menu. This is mostly similar. You've got the inventory. You can load in the fuel. You may notice that this fuel is completely different. It is rocket fuel. That's right. You can now load the trains with rocket fuel. Rocket fuel, if you don't know, is made of 10 solid fuel. So the purpose of this is to sort of more densely pack the power. So the way it works is solid fuel has 25 megajoules, I guess, of power. This one has 225, so it is not quite as efficient in terms of power as the solid fuel, but one stack of solid fuel is, the limit is 50, whereas the limit for this is 10, meaning you can store nearly 100 solid fuels worth of power in here. So this is the most space-efficient power storage you can manage. So this is the sort of thing you put in a train when you want it to never be fueled again. Let's actually hop inside the train for a moment and drive it around and show you just how slowly this fuel gets used up. Like, you can see it just like 1 pixel at a time. It takes ages. So this train will just run for hours without needing refueling, which is fantastic if you want to send it on a really long journey, such as around the giant lake that I've got here. Then you can do that. You can probably do that on 1 tank of rocket fuel, I think. I might try that a little bit later on. I wouldn't be surprised if that is possible. It might depend on just how many cargo wagons you have as to whether you can manage it. So there we go. That's the individual train menu for setting up the schedules. Whole load of new stuff there, as well as everywhere else. One thing I nearly forgot about is the rails. So let's grab a bit of rail we have here. So there is only one kind of rail now. The curved rail item is, I think, completely gone. I don't think it exists yet. There's just normal rails now. And the reason is that the way you build it has changed. So if we just, well, if we mouse over here, you can see there is a green arrow. So if we select that, and then we go off this way, you can see it starts drawing a track to build. So we can just, basically, it's a better way of like building rails quickly. So if I do that, I just build the whole thing in one go, and then I can just continue on wherever I feel like, all around here. And we press Q to switch that off. That's a button that you usually don't use, but it's coming in useful now with a bunch of new features that involve that sort of thing, where you need to sort of deselect an action rather than an item. So if we mouse over it again and hold down Shift when we click, we now get Ghost Building Mode, which basically extends it further than you could otherwise. Previously, it was a limit of, I think, 10 rails or 10 squares or something like that. Now it's unlimited, and so you can just basically zoom out and say, I want a train to get to that particular bit of forest there, and it will tell you exactly what you need to do to get there. That is the most efficient way without clearing away any trees. Alternatively, if you hold down Shift, it gives you what you can get if you deconstruct trees along the way. So if we build that, then my personal bots will go out and clear away the trees, build the rails. So that is awesome. That is going to make rail building a lot quicker. Also, I believe that rail mining has sped up quite a bit, because it was quite tedious to clear away long stretches of rail before. This speeds it up a fair bit. You can still use bots for it if you want to, which will be generally even quicker, if a little bit more requiring of technology and power and things like that. So let's see, what should we go on to next? There's just so many things. Let's go down here. We have a bunch of new items to show you. So I've set them all up in assemblers even here, so you can see what's going on. So we'll start. We have the 3 new kinds of inserters, and you may be wondering why the Smart Inserter is here. Well, that is no longer the Smart Inserter. The Smart Inserter does not exist. So the 3 are the Filter Inserter, the Stack Inserter, and the Filter Stack Inserter. So the way this works, the Filter Inserter is basically the Smart Inserter. Funnily enough, there used to be an inserter called the Filter Inserter in a very old version of Factorio. Back in the very early days, we're talking like more than 2 years ago, there was a Filter Inserter that was purple. I forget what its particular job was. I guess filtering in some way or another. I don't know if it was separate from the Smart Inserter or whether the Smart Inserter replaced it, but now it has replaced the Smart Inserter, and it works basically the same. The menu has been changed a little bit, but you just choose what to filter, and then it will move that and that only. You see a couple of little buttons here for the circuit network and the logistics network, so you can now connect it to them. So I think this, I don't know if this is inside logistics range or not, but if I press that, it will connect it, and then you can enable conditions based on what is in the logistics network. And if you connect it up to other things using wires, then you can do various conditions with that. A lot of that has been present previously, specifically with the Smart Inserters. I think now, I don't know if it's all or just like these fancier inserters that can do it, but basically this can now operate based on circuit conditions, and the menu is just a lot easier to use. At the moment there's nothing going on, of course, because we don't have it actually connected to anything, but I'll show you like a working menu of it in a couple of minutes. So the next one, this is the Stack Inserter. I think it's called the Stack Inserter. Yeah, that's what it's called. I think at one point the name was being decided on. At the moment you can see it's all not powered. It will be powered in a moment and we'll see what they do. But basically, they move 12 items at once from chest to belt and back. So yeah, I'll show you that in about 10 seconds or whatever, once I've got through. So this is the Filter Stack Inserter, or the Stack Filter Inserter, as it turns out. This just does both of these jobs at once, and is thus more expensive. I think we'll quickly look at what it needs for each one. So we need one fast inserter for electronic circuits for the filter. I think that's that is just the Smart Inserter recipe, I believe. Then we have the Stack Inserter. That needs a bunch of gears, a bunch of circuits, one advanced circuit and a fast inserter. And then this one here needs a Stack Inserter and 5 electronic circuits. So not that much of a step up really, but it does require more technology to reach it. So then over here, this is the power switch. What does this require? This needs 5 iron plates, 5 copper cables, and 2 electronic circuits. The way this works is you connect wires to either end, and then you can switch it on and off to like complete the connection. So at the moment, I have it connected to some power over here, and then the inserters over here, and then once I go into the menu and switch it on, this over here activates, so we can start to see how these inserters work. So they just grab 12 at once, and then dump them all onto the belt in one go. Now, when you start, they won't be able to do this much. You have to get it through through upgrades. There's a whole big long chain. The chain that was previously for the size bonus for inserters transporting from chests to other chests, or just containers to other containers, whatever those containers were, that has now been changed to operate slightly differently. So now what it does is it increases the stack size that these can move. So they can move 12 from containers onto belts, and from belts to containers, and containers to containers, whereas all other kinds of inserters, apart from these ones and this one, they can, I think, move 3 items at once, and we can check that in a moment with one of the other new menus that we have. So it's sort of all been tweaked about with a bit to sort of rebalance them. So there are reasons to use each inserter, I think, still. So, like, I'm not actually sure what the particular reasons are. One of the obvious ones, of course, is that the different inserters require different amounts of materials to make and technologies and so on and so forth. And also you need to upgrade them to actually get them to do these things in the first place. So initially I think these transport 2 as soon as you get them, whereas the standard ones do 1. And then as you progress through, the researchers will look at later, you unlock more and more until you finally get to the insane amount of 12. So this is going to make unloading trains a lot easier. So it doesn't matter that there are only 6 slots now. Well, 12 if you count the other side. You'll be able to unload it easily with that few spaces, because these things are just insane. So you can just switch this off and on like so. There's a nice animation as this huge plug gets moved over and plugged in there, and then all sparks and everything going on. This thing is also connected to the circuit network and the logistics network as well, so there's a whole load of possibilities with making different things switch on and off depending on different situations. So we'll go back down here. Next thing we have is a new kind of flooring. This is hazard concrete, and it's really simple to make. You use 10 concrete to make 10 hazard concrete. It's really easy. So basically, once you have concrete, you just choose whether you want to have it as a standard grey or whether you want some nice stripes to it. It can also be rotated. As you can see, there are just 2 orientations, of course, the 2 diagonals, so that's quite cool. You can build it as normal, overlap the old ones with the new ones and things like that. So that'll be cool for just like marking the edges of things, just making any sort of... it just adds a little bit more character to your factories. You're able to sort of mark things in more varying ways and sort of make cool, like, warning lines around different structures and things like that. You could just like surround all buildings with these and then have concrete everywhere else and stuff like that. Is very cool. And the bonus to walking speed is exactly the same as normal concrete, so it's entirely an aesthetic thing. So the next thing we have here is Landfill. We've had this in mod form for a very long time, but it has now been put into the game. You need 20 stone to make a single square of landfill, and let's just wander over to the nearest body of water to do a quick demonstration of that. So with 20 stone for each one, it's a little bit ridiculous. You burn through your stone supply quite rapidly, so you don't want to be using this a lot. It's sort of been balanced that way so that you don't just like fill in all bodies of water that exist. So here we go, we can just like run across here. Already I've used it up. I had like 25, it's all gone. Let's make a little bit more. All I can make, I've got like 4 stacks of stone, I think maybe even 5, and I can only make 12 more squares of landfill. We can just plonk that around the place. And yeah, so whenever there's just like a tiny gap you need to bridge, you can now do that. If there's just any small tweaks you need to make to the to any water around the place, you can now do that, which is super useful. There's definitely some fun we can have with the giant lake that we have. We can get to like this island here with well, it'll take a fair bit of stone, but we can manage it. This island here, it's going to be very fun to explore that stuff. We could even just like build a railway going straight across the middle or something like that. Just cut out this whole journey here, just go straight from there to there. Though that would take insane amounts of stone. I'm glad there is a lot of stone on this map. We've got a huge deposit over there at the moment, which should help bridge some gaps in places. So let's go back down to our line here, carry on along. So here we have the blueprint book. This is made of 15 advanced circuits, and I have one here. You can see it has a picture of some rails on it. If we open it up, you can see we can contain our blueprints in it, which is fantastic, because the reason I wasn't making a bunch of blueprints is because they took up so much space, and it was really annoying. So I was sort of being like, I was only making them when it was really so much quicker to use one than otherwise. I'm going to have a lot more blueprints now, because suddenly I can have 30 of them without having to have any more inventory slots. And of course I also have the 3 extra rows of inventory slots anyway, so I'm probably want to have inventory troubles for a while, at least until I get used to playing like this. Of course, if I end up going back to an older save, that's not going to be fun at all. I'll have a lot of trouble actually making everything fit now. But yes, so what you can do is you can put one of the blueprints in the main slot, and then you can use the blueprint book as that blueprint. So you can just have like whatever your favorite blueprint is, that can just be in the primary slot, and you can just quickly have access to it whenever you need to. And if you need to switch to sort of a different sort of building mode, essentially, if you've gone to, like, if you're starting to build a bunch of power stuff, you can just swap it out for one of your power blueprints, and then just use it as one of those. So that's fantastic. You can also have multiple blueprint books, just in case you want more than 30 blueprints, or you want to have like different categories of them and stuff like that. So that's awesome. I'm definitely going to be using a lot more blueprints now. But yes, moving on, we have the cluster grenade. So let's have some fun with some explosives. I've got a couple of both kinds here. These are the old grenades. We'll just throw those around the place. Basically, one grenade can blow up a tree fairly easily. If we get a cluster grenade, throw that, and it just blows up a lot more trees. There's just a bunch of secondary explosions. So that is definitely more powerful than the old cluster grenade, well, than the old normal grenade even, which is sort of reflected in the crafting recipe. I believe you need 7 normal grenades to make a cluster grenade, which makes sense. So it's definitely a good idea to have them, because you can do a lot more damage with them than otherwise. Moving on, here we have the flamethrower turret. Now this one is just a picture of a turret with fire next to it, which isn't very helpful, so I'll just wander over to an actual flamethrower turret that we have. Here it is. I'll pick it up so we can do a quick rotation. There you go. So it's quite big. It's 2x3. You can see that it's got this sort of pipe thing going on here, and then you can see the front with the flames and the barrel and everything. I'll plunk this back down here. So this can be fueled by pipe. It uses, as you can see on the bar on the side, it can use just crude oil or heavy oil or medium oil. I don't know whether, well, it's not medium oil. It's light oil. That's what it's called. And yeah, so it's quite versatile. You can use it in a bunch of places. You can use it in like an oil, just in like a pump jack outpost without having to actually refine the stuff. You can just pump the crude oil directly into the flamethrower and use it that way. So that's awesome. And if you look here, we can now see the ranges of the turrets. That's a new feature as well in this update. And as you can see, it's got a longer range than either of the other turrets. It's a little bit close to the laser turret, but it is that bit further. The sacrifice, of course, is that it only fires in front of it. It's more than like a 45-degree angle, but it's definitely a little bit limiting. There's also the fact that there's a gap directly in front of it. So if a biter gets too close, it can't fend for itself anymore. So you probably want to use this in conjunction with the other kinds of turrets if possible. Or just have many of them, so the biters have no chance of reaching them. Though I guess they don't quite do as direct a damage as the other kinds do, because this one is about actually throwing fire at the biters and trying to set them on fire. So it works a little bit differently. I haven't seen one in action yet, because it's going to take a bit of time to actually set up a system that works with these. Unfortunately, my oil refining area is like behind everything else. So if the biters got to it, I would have already lost the entire rest of my factory. So we'll have a bit of fun with that in a future video. But that is very cool and very useful for keeping the biters off you. Probably very good against spitters, thinking about it, because the spitters will come in range and stop, and then they'll just like stand in the fire that's thrown at them. So that'll be extremely useful. But of course, as well as the flamethrower turret, we also have the flamethrower gun. We had it before, of course, but now it actually throws proper flames. I forget exactly what it was like before. I never really used it because I don't think it was particularly good, really. But now we can set things on fire. There are a lot more applications for it. So let's just set this forest on fire. Here we go. Just all over the place, and immediately all the trees start setting on fire and actually burning down. And you can actually start forest fires. This is slowly spreading. As you can see, it is moving along. And yeah, this is pretty interesting. It could cause all sorts of trouble for some people's factories. The burning generates pollution, as well as the fact that it removes trees in the first place, which means that they stop absorbing pollution. So generally, it's just a terrible idea to do near your factory. When it comes to killing biters, I think they're pretty good. I haven't actually tried them yet, but the amount of damage that the fire does, like if I stand next to it, I've got a really powerful power suit on, and it is wearing me down, which is pretty impressive. Like I've got 8 Mark II shields, and it's still managing to burn through that. So yeah, this fire's pretty good. I need to try it against some biters, see just how good it is. But I think you can just like ignite the bases, and then they'll just keep burning until they burn down. I don't know if they ever burn out. I have noticed that some of the trees burn out. You can see that there's some that have just stopped without actually going down. Bunch of smoke rising up. Slowly it's starting to fade away now. And the fire's just continued on spreading. And yeah, like if the forest isn't particularly dense, then you'll be alright. But in the denser areas, it will just keep going. Like it'll probably continue up here. Probably get to this bit here and just burn this whole thing down. It might not get over there because there's a bit more of a gap there. So yeah, if you need to stop a forest fire, the only way really is to actually cut down the trees, though of course you can cut them down a little bit quicker if you use grenades. So that's a pretty good firefighting technique there if you've messed up and you need to very quickly fix it. It'll be interesting to see what happens when you set the forest next to a biter base on fire, whether it will spread to them, how much damage it will do to them, and whether it will aggro them. Because if the fire hasn't technically come from you, they'll be being burned by the fire of the trees next to them, which just got set on fire by the other ones. Though maybe they'll trace it back to you just because you're the only thing capable of actually causing fire in this game, as it currently stands. It's nearly burned out, but I think it's gonna retake and just carry on up here. We'll just leave that. That'll be fine. Luckily, my pollution situation is pretty good. It doesn't go very far. It's a very long way away from the biters, though the biters are approaching quite rapidly. I'm getting quite worried. It seems like they've advanced in the area around where that radar got destroyed. So back over to our line over here. And that is it for all the new stuff that we have the icons for. Some of the new things don't have new icons. And then some of the old things have new icons. So that's what all this stuff is here. Also, while we're here, you may notice this light is red, which is a new thing. Previously, lights could only be white. Now it's been changed so that when you send a signal of a particular colour, you now light up the light in that colour. So I've got this constant combinator. It's sending a red signal. This is set to activate if the red signal is more than 0. It is. And also you can see this is the circuit menu here, so we can close that to see that's what it normally is like now. You open it up, you get some options. So you can turn off use colours, so now the signal just operates as a generic signal. But if you have use colours on, then if you have any of the coloured signals, then the LED, well, not the LED, the light will light up with that colour. So you can see we have the signals in this menu here. So all these colours can now be made by the lights. So that's pretty cool. A lot more options now. People can now have colour displays. Like, people have already been making like videos using like banks of these lights. You can now make colour video using banks of these lights. So that's going to be cool. Also, you can see there's a nice little box here. That's something that's been added to make it easier to work out what's actually connected to wires. So you can tell that this is actually in the circuit network because it has that little box there. And a bunch of different items have that. Speaking of which, I forgot about the new stations, come to think of it, over here. Because the reason I remembered is because I remember that these also get little circuit boxes on them when you connect them up. So they've just been changed to sort of... It's sort of like there's a scanner on top, or... I'm not really sure what it is, but I guess... Yeah, oh, it's a signal thing, of course. It's a box with the actual signals on, as if it's signaling to the train, even though the train is actually in front of the signal, so you wouldn't be able to see it, but we'll ignore that. It's perspective. If the train's coming from the south, then it'll work perfectly. And that's actually reminding me about something else. That's the thing. There are so many features. This video is going on a lot longer than I thought, and there's just like I've got like an A4 page full of like not just like all the new features, just new features of note. Like if we like the actual the changelog is, I think, over 300 lines long. And a lot of it is features. There's some bug fixes and stuff in there as well, but so many changes. But yeah, so a new ease of use thing is if we get this signal here, you can now see that we get a bunch of locations lighting up along these tracks, and these are any locations where you can place signals. So you can see they line up with all the different squares. You can also see when I actually line it up with a particular piece of track, it shows you where any trains stopped at this signal will be, so you can work out better exactly how long you need a block to be to properly fit a train into it. So that is awesome. Makes it a lot easier to work out how you can set up the signals in a particularly awkward junction or anything like that. And you can also do it with the train stops, so it shows where you can place those, and it again shows where a train will be if it is parked up there. So that's awesome. Just so many things that just make everything easier to do when it comes to trains and so many other things. Oh, we got another attack going on. Where is it? I can't even see, actually. Oh, I forgot. If I press that, it jumps to the location. And the location is my brand new outpost. It isn't probably set up yet, so that's not a good sign. So yeah, now whenever there's an alarm, you can click on it. It takes you to that place on the map, which is awesome. Also, the alarms last twice as long because I kept missing them, and I imagine other people did as well. So now there's plenty of time to actually catch them before they disappear and find out exactly where they were happening. Also, another thing with the map, you can now move around with the mouse, and it also has zoom to location, which apparently was a feature many updates ago, but got broken at some point, and just now it has been fixed, which is quite convenient. So yes, back to the line we have here. So there's new art for the car. This is only in the icons, the actual items themselves. Well, in the cases where they have a physical presence, such as the car and the tank, that's not changed. So yeah, the car and the tank have some new art. The blueprint and the deconstruction planner have been changed just a little bit. And then we also have completely new art for all the space stuff. So that is low density structure, that is rocket fuel, as you saw earlier in the train, that is the rocket control unit, and that is the satellite. Also, the flasks for the science have been slightly changed just to sort of improve the look of them a little bit, make them a bit more three-dimensional. Also, the physical models of the models isn't the right word, sprites of the arithmetic and decider combinators has been changed just a little bit, just making them, I think, slightly shorter, and that's pretty much it. And yeah, there's so much more stuff. I've now run out of all these, but like I'm gonna have to start looking at my. Oh, I nearly forgot. We've got these menus to go through. I was gonna start looking at the science, but first let's have a look at all this stuff. So that is the menu. That just is what would happen if you pressed escape. Takes you to this menu here. That's all fine. Not much has changed there. There is actually a new option, I think, somewhere. I forget exactly what it is. Is that a new one? I don't recognize that one. I don't know. Whole bunch, like a couple of random new things in the menus as well. Everything's in the changelog, which I will link in the description. And yes, let's go on to the next one. So this is the production statistics tab. And this is... Oh, everything's died, I think. That's interesting. There we go. Yeah, apparently my factory's broken. I don't know what I did. Somehow I broke the factory. Maybe it's just got nothing to do. That's more likely, I think. I think everything's mostly fine. There we go. We've given it a bit of activity now that we've run back in. And our bots can resupply us with random stuff. So yeah, the production statistics shows you what is being made at any time. This was in before, but people didn't really know about it much. I never really used it, but now it is more accessible and you can remember that it's a thing that exists. So it just tells you how much is being produced over a certain period of time. And so you could do what's been made in the past 5 seconds, 1 minute, 10 minutes, 1 hour, 10 hours, 50 hours, and all time, which is quite a lot for this particular factory. It's been going for nearly 100 hours now. So that's pretty cool. There's also some more options with how you can use it, which makes it a little bit more useful. So you can switch off certain things. So like copper cables are sort of dominating this, so I can just switch them off. And then I can like look at all the other things. So like all these things are sort of ruining the rest of the graph, so I can't see what's going on. So if I just remove all those, then we can get a better look at everything else. Let's get rid of the... is that steel plate? Yes, it is. There we go. We can get a proper look at all the different power usages of the various materials a little bit better now. So that's awesome. Get all those back to normal. And also you can isolate a single one by just clicking on that one. So how much we've been making of iron? That much. Excellent. Right, so the next one along we have is the bonuses menu, which is extremely useful in just telling you what you've researched and what you haven't. Like, it's difficult to keep track of what you have and haven't got when you've done a bunch of different researches. So this just lists all the different bonuses being applied to things. So you can see the damage here is more than double for ammo and defender bots. Shooting speed also boosted and things like that. You can just look through, so you can see that the capacity bonus is now 2 for all these different ones, which means they can in total move 3 different items at once, and this applies to all the different kinds, not just like one of them. And then over here we have the stack inserters, and their bonus is 11, bringing it up to a total of 12. You can also see request slots, trash slots, quick bars. I have 2 of them. because we've got the top and the bottom. I always research that really early because it's annoying only having 10 slots there. And follow robot count. Is that just how many? Oh yeah, that's the how many like destroyer drones you can have. I was thinking that was how many I had in my my inventory for a moment or something. So yeah, that's how many destroyer drones you can carry. Open that up again. Research speed, just all the things. Extremely useful for just working out like how good your stuff is relative to normal. Next up we have the map. So we've just got now a button we can press to look at the map. Same as pressing the M key. And then we have the trains menu. This is my favorite because it shows you all of the trains. This is extremely useful because previously I didn't have a way of like knowing how many trains I had beyond actually just counting them. Now I can actually just look at this and go, oh, I have 32 trains, as it turns out, in this particular save. And it shows all of them as they currently are on the map. Shows you exactly where they are, what they're doing. It shows you what their current stations are. These ones are all in manual. I think these are all new ones I've made, pretty much. Not all of them, actually. I think that one there is the mega train, the massive one that I have parked at the top of the lake. So yeah, it shows you their timetables and where they are at the moment. It is just super useful. And I can just pick one. Let's pick this one here. And we can just go to its control menu. So we can look at the schedule. And we can mess with the colour of it. Let's make that one yellow now. Or it's sort of... Is that... Yeah, that is yellow, green and red. I can just make it completely green. And we can just follow that as it goes. Switch to the map, switch back to the normal view. We can't actually put fuel into it, of course, because we'd have to be next to it for that. But we can actually change where it's going now, which is super useful for just, like, calling trains to you. And stuff like that. And just sort of, like, messing with the options when the train is just too far away to be able to do anything about it. And then we have one... Well, did I look at it? Oh, also there's a search button. If you search this, let's type in Mega Copper. And now we can look at all the trains that have the Mega Copper station in their timetable. And they've all stopped. I wonder why. That's interesting. I will have to investigate that later on. But that's the sort of thing you can find out by looking at this. You can go and look and see if there's a bunch of trains that have just shut down for whatever reason. And you can find out why. It might be something to do with... Well, it's probably something to do with the update. That often will cause some sort of problem for the trains, like maybe all their fuel got deleted or something like that, so they just ground to a halt. Or something about their timetabling was changed so that it didn't work properly anymore. So yes, one more is the Achievements tab. There are now achievements for Factorio. I already have a bunch of them. I just some of them I acquired the moment I started the game, some of them I've just randomly acquired as I've gone around setting things up. So there's just a whole bunch of milestones you can reach, and I'm not sure if it's possible to get all of them at once, actually, which is a little bit mean, because there's a bunch down here. Actually, oh no, they are all sort of separate things, so in this one, you've got to win without using solar panels, win without using laser turrets, win without building active providers or requester chests, and a bunch of stuff like that. If you finish the game within 8 hours, you get There Is No Spoon, for just being completely insane and amazing. Like, I think the speedrun time is something like 3 hours or something like that. So you've really got to be trying for that. You've got to have probably had a bit of experience in it. There's one that's a little bit easier for 15 hours, which is more attainable. A console command was... Oh, of course. So yeah, I was using console commands to fix one of the problems. That is something I nearly forgot to mention. At the moment, you can't get the Flamethrower turret if you start up a game from 0.12. For whatever reason, well, it's because you get the Flamethrower turret from the Flamethrower research, and if you've already researched it, then it doesn't trigger you getting the turret. So what you have to do is you have to disable that research and then re-enable it. Basically cancel it out and start it again so that the game registers that you have completed the science, and then you get access to the turret. So when you first start up, you should find that you don't have access to it, and I will post in the description the command that you need to type, well, the two commands that you need to type in to make it work. And then you'll be able to use them just fine. So yeah, because of that, I can't get any achievements in this particular save, which is a bit unfortunate. So I'll have to try and sort of... I'll be restarting from earlier on with this anyway, because I've messed this up with all the random stuff I've been doing with setting up trains over here. So yeah, if I wanted to actually get the achievements, I'd have to do without the Flamethrower turret until I was... I'd got as many of them as I could. Okay, so yeah, you can sort of browse through those and see what all sorts of random things there are going on there. A couple of challenges and things like that. A couple of things about just the sheer weight of production and things like that. Okay, what else do we have? There's still so many things that I've got to get through. Let's look at all the new science that we've got. So if we go to the research menu, well, first of all, you can see that it's completely changed in how it's set up. This one's a little bit boring. Let's find a more interesting one. Let's do advanced electronics. There we go. So we now have a tech tree. What happens is when you select any particular technology, it will show you everything that that requires it to unlock and everything that it requires to unlock. So we can see that advanced electronics 2 needs number 1, and then that needs plastics, which needs oil, which needs steel, and it also needs electronics and automation. And then you can see everything that requires electronics 2, or advanced electronic 2 even. Robotics, effect transmission, the rocket silo itself, and you can see all the chains of upgrades we can have. So the character logistics slots, which I don't think that one's been changed, but a bunch of them have. Oh no, it has been changed actually. I have a list of the new researches here. So we have the landfill research, which will be somewhere around here. There it is. So that's just a standalone one. It doesn't need anything else for it. A very basic one that you can get quite early on, though. Of course, you need quite a bit of stone to make it work. 1 extra step to character logistics slots. That's the wrong one. There's somewhere around here. It doesn't matter. We already had it going up to 5. Now it just goes up to 6. And there it is. So that one's new. All these ones are old ones. We have inserter capacity. There's some more upgrades for that, as I mentioned earlier. That has all been messed about with to change exactly how it works. So here it is. There's now like 3 extra levels of upgrades, and what the upgrades do is a little bit different as well. So that one gives you stack inserters pick up 1 more item. That one gives you non-stack inserters pick up 1 more item, as well as stack inserters can pick up 1 more item. So this only happens twice. This one happens every time. Towards the end, you start upgrading them 2 at once, and then the final one gives you 2 and also 1 for non-stack inserters, and uses stupid amounts of science. It broke my science production to make that work. I really had to push it, because it needs like so many multiples of things going on. We also have the cluster grenade research. There it is. And that one is, it requires military 4 for it. So it's a fairly late game technology, as makes sense with it just being sort of a straight up upgrade of the standard grenade pretty much. And then there's also grenade damage. That's an entirely new chain. There are 5 stages to it. And they all, I think, do pretty much the same thing, just add 20% to the damage bonus. And then finally we have Flamethrower damage, which is somewhere around here. There it is. And this upgrades the damage both of the Flamethrower turret and of just fire in general. So it was the fully upgraded fire that was doing the damage to my shield. So early on it won't be so good. Once you fully upgraded it, it'll be, I think, quite formidable. And I think I will definitely be using this against some biters in future. So that's all the new research. You can have fun looking around here and seeing exactly what you need for each thing. I guess you can try and find just the most messy of the technologies. Some like really integral one. Like this one's got a whole bunch of stuff depending on it, a whole bunch of different things. In fact, it continues on. There's not even enough room for all the different steps, so they've just put arrows in. So that's all the new research. What else do we have? Well, we have multiplayer. Well, new multiplayer. We already had multiplayer, but now we have server-based multiplayer properly implemented. The peer-to-peer mode has been removed. It was causing some problems, and now there's a fully server-based one with like a lobby and everything, and I think like password protection, all sorts of stuff like that. So at some point I can have a look around that and see how it goes, and you can just wander on to random people's servers, as far as I can tell, if they have them open to the public. So that's pretty cool. We also have better integration of mods. You can now access mods from in the game. I think you can actually like browse the mods from in the game, maybe, which is super useful for just like making it a lot easier to get mods into your game. And it sort of syncs up with the mod portal website thing that they have. What else do we have? I've gone through most of it now, I think. Probably some other new graphics that I've missed and things like that. But yeah, that's... Oh, there is one thing. I nearly forgot about this one. This is one that I have been waiting for so long. So we've got some underground pipes here, and if I click and drag, it now places them at the maximum distance. We've been complaining about this for so long, and finally they've implemented it. Now we don't have to constantly get the positioning right, because previously you just had to individually place them. If you clicked and dragged, you just end up placing them like that, which was no good. Now you can actually do it properly, and it also works with underground belts. They now place the same way. So, let's see what else we have. I think that's most of the stuff at this. Oh, also rocks are now mineable. That's one very minor, but very useful feature. Now, if you have any rocks that are in the way of you, you can just walk up to it and mine it with your pickaxe, which is something that you couldn't previously do. You had to blow it up with a shotgun or whatever. You can also deconstruct it with robots now, so that is just extremely convenient for not having them constantly blocking your path when you're trying to build things. And it also means that when you're building rails with the rail building tool, rocks won't cause you problems there. Let's see, anything else? Smart chests have been removed. All chests now work as smart chests, so we just have the wooden, iron, and steel. There's no specific smart chest because they are all connected to the circuit network. Speaking of which, roboports, accumulators, belts, rail signals, gates, and a bunch of other stuff have been connected up to the circuit network as well. Particularly interesting is gates, because that means you can now have proximity-based like circuit signals. You can have it so that you just place a gate around somewhere. When you approach the gate, it will open, which can then activate something, which is fantastic. So you can now have things activate when you arrive. Unfortunately, the gates don't, of course, open when a biter approaches, but you can probably set it so that, like, once a signal from something is destroyed because a biter blew it up, that it causes something to activate. So that could be quite cool. I'm thinking of having some sort of biter-activated thing that then causes trains to run over the biters. That could be fun. Have it so you have a wall, and if they, like, break the gate, then it breaks the signal, and that sets off a bunch of trains that swing around and run over the biters as they run through. That'd be very fun to set up. I'd specifically not put turrets on that wall so I could activate it as often as possible. And of course, with the rail signals, you can now use that to stop trains using signals. So you can, if the conditions of the stations themselves aren't enough. Also, I forgot there's actually a menu with the stops themselves, so you can actually see what trains stop at that particular signal. You can connect that to the circuit network as well. So you can get that various circuit conditions activate, allow trains to leave stations and stuff like that, and leave signals. So that's awesome. I guess it just sort of changes the color of the signal, so you can just use it that way. A couple of bits of rebalancing. Productivity modules don't produce as much pollution anymore, which is nice, because they were already producing a lot from how much extra power they were using. Repair packs now are more durable, I think. You can repair more with a single repair pack, and the stack size has increased. The stack size of wood has increased. As I mentioned before, the cargo wagon capacity has increased. And, the list goes on and on and on. This is what the changelog looks like. It's insane. There's just so much stuff. You'll have to go look through it yourself. Pretty much. I think I've got most of the coolest things covered, but I've undoubtedly missed something important. I always miss something vitally important with these videos. So maybe I'll put it in the description or the comments or whatever if there's something particularly important. I might even make a follow-up video covering all the things I missed. But I think that is pretty much everything. I think I've got through all the cool stuff. So look in the description. There'll be a bunch of links to various things. Also, if you're having trouble updating to the new version, then I will link a video that should help you with that. It's all about how there are different versions of the game going on at the same time, which causes some confusion. I'll also have the links to various tutorials and random things in there. So yeah, just have a look in there, and there'll be all sorts of important information that I've forgotten to mention in the video. But I think that is everything for today, so I shall say goodbye, thank you for watching, and I shall see you next time.